guys been waiting for him all morning long, so let's do it right now. He's the creator of Invincible. He's the creator of Walking Dead. Clap and scream for Robert Kirkman!
All I do is win, 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 no matter what. Got money on my mind, I can never get enough. And
Hello, everybody!
Everybody hands go
All right.
up.
See. It's a lot of couch. I'm not going to sit. Maybe I'll sit later. We'll see. So, coming out to the old Emerald City Comic-Con. You guys all having a good time? So, oftentimes in recent years, we've done these panels, and, we'll get like somebody to moderate, like Jason Mantzoukas we've done recently at Comic-Con, New York Comic-Con, and, Sean Makowitz will usually come out here, and he'll help me with facts and things like that, because I don't remember a lot. And, but I was like, Emerald City, I haven't been here in a while. It's been like 5 or 6 years since I've been here. And I was like, that's like a little personal con. It's real quaint, So back in the day, when I started out, I would just do these solo panels where I'd sit behind the, the panel table, and I'd be kind of tired. But, and I'd just sit there and I'd answer questions for the whole time. And it was a lot of fun. It was a little freewheeling, and I'd crack some jokes. I'd piss off some smaller, insignificant comic book companies, and I'd have a good time with it. So I was like, let's go back to those days. And then I saw this room, and I was like, this is going to be a disaster. This is not going to go well. So what we got going on here? I'm just going to pace like a caged animal. Does that work? Oh, apologize. I'm probably going to sit down in a minute. This is ridiculous. But got a lot of great stuff going on. Is anybody watching Walking Dead Season 7? Did you guys think of that Eugene episode? You guys love that? Got to respect that mullet. It's good. Got a great one coming up tomorrow. Real excited about that. I vaguely remember exactly which episode it is because it's been a long time since I've seen it. But it's Season 7, These guys, they know what they're doing. Anyway. Really excited about Fear the Walking Dead, which will be coming back very soon. I wish Sean Makowitz was here to tell me the date. But real excited for Season 3 of that show. Been building a lot with these characters, and there's some really crazy stuff going. You saw that intense action at the end of Season 2 at the border. Going to be more of that. So it's going to be a much more intense season, I'll say that. So we're really excited about that. Now, comic book wise, and I got to also say we got Outcast Season 2 coming. We just announced an international date for that, April 10th, and we'll be announcing the domestic date for it at some point soon in the future. We're still trying to figure out all the logistics on that. But, and the comic's going strong. Just had our 25th issue, which we sold you guys for $0.25. So if you didn't buy it, leave the panel, I hate you. And then we did Walking Dead. I think there were some recent events in Walking Dead that were somewhat potentially cataclysmic. You would think I plan these things, but I honestly don't. Big things seem to happen in Walking Dead in issues that come out immediately before a convention where I find myself on a stage talking directly to fans. Not only is that a high-pressure situation for me, because, I got to answer to you guys when I do something terrible to these characters we all love. I love them too, but I still kill them. But also, not everybody reads on the first day. So if you guys haven't read, I'm going to say 164, or is it 165? I think it's 165. You might get spoiled today. Just letting you know, because inevitably somebody is going to ask a question about the most recent panel that's been in print, and half the audience will go, "Oh!" So I'm warning you now. And then we're ending this other series that I do called Invincible. Wow, happy for the end. I understand. It's okay. Ryan Otley and I are happy too. But yeah, we just launched 133, and we got this big end of all things 12-part storyline that's going, and we're really excited to wrap that series up in a cool, fun way. So hopefully you guys will all enjoy that. A lot of other stuff going on, but I've forgotten it, so we'll just let you guys bring that up in the Q&A portion, which begins now. So if you guys want to line up, we got a green shirt over here, we got a green shirt over there. The entirety of the rest of this panel is going to be Q&A. So if you don't want to line up now, line up later. I don't know. Watch the line, see how it goes. I don't want people standing for the whole time. You know, that's no fun. No elbowing, pushing, shoving, anything like that. I'll get to your question. If you ask a dumb question, I will probably crack some kind of joke. It's all in good fun because I'm trying to make these panels as lively and entertaining as possible. Don't take it personally. Don't be a wimp. All right, go.
Hi, my name is Regina. I'm from Highland, California,
Hello, Regina.
and it's a pleasure meeting you.
Pleasure to meet you as well from a distance, or I can look down on you. I don't know. This is not the most ideal meeting place, but it's happening just the same.
So my question is, how are you able to balance between doing the TV shows as well as the writing and everything else that you got going on?
I like to say I work fast, so that's fun, but that didn't get any laughs, but okay. But no, I mean, the honest truth is that I love what I do, so a lot of people, you know, they have like a job that they go to and, you know, it's fulfilling and provides them an income and all that kind of stuff, and then they go home and they like make model trains for like 2 or 3 hours a day, and, you know, and that's like their hobby and they have a lot of fun doing that. You know, I combine all that time, and that's, you know, kind of what makes it work. And then as far as like juggling, like, you know, this is going on in Walking Dead, that's going on in the Walking Dead comic, this is going on in the Walking Dead show. I see them as completely separate things. I mean, the characters are almost completely different characters at this point. So the Rick Grimes that I'm writing in the comic book series has almost a completely different personality and different motives and everything than the one in the television show. So it's easy to keep them somewhat separate, especially when you know, the project's kind of revamping and remixing material I've already done.
Okay, cool. Thank you.
Cool, thank you. And what do you got?
Hi, my name is Diana, and I'm from Port Townsend. And you being the god of Walking Dead, do you have maybe a heaven version of Walking Dead in your own head that you write for yourself, where the characters that have died maybe have a better afterlife, and you're like, this is what Herschel's doing today in my heaven?
Nope, definitely not. If anything, there is an unending, brutal hell where they just get killed over and over and over again in different ways. I don't know. There are a lot of alternatives. There are things that I, you know, changed my mind on or decided wasn't going to work, and so there are like different, you know, deaths or, you know, very little. There are some storylines where, you know, Tyrese lasted a little bit longer and did this, but I decided not to do that, or I had this plan for, you know, I don't want to spoil anything. Anyway, so and sometimes I come back to those or use those plot lines for other people and stuff. So there is some like variables out there in my head where, you know, maybe Glenn lived a little bit longer. There's a big variable with Glenn where he was going to die much sooner. But yeah, there was actually a cover. I believe it was. I'm going to say it was like 88 or 89 or somewhere in there where Maggie is changing her clothes and you see like a guy in the window like looking at her. And when that cover was drawn, Glenn was going to die a couple issues before then. And it was going to be like somebody in Alexandria was obsessed with Maggie now that she was available, and that was going to be a plot line. And then at some point while I was actually writing the issues, because the covers are sometimes done well in advance, I was like, you know, I'm not going to kill him now. You know, maybe I'll save that for 100. I don't know. Like, it'll be a better death later. But I still had that cover. And so if you read that issue, Glenn and Maggie have an argument, and he says, I feel like I'm outside of our relationship looking in. Like, I don't feel like I'm a part of this anymore. And I was like, look, that cover's still usable. It's a metaphor. We make it work. Go.
Hi, I'm Winston. I'm from Silverdale, Washington. Great to meet you. You signed my Outcast.
Nobody
volumes
cares. Keep
earlier.
going.
Okay. I was just curious on what is your inspiration on Outcast? What inspired you to create it?
That's a complicated answer. You know, look, I think that a lot of it is, you know, Walking Dead exists, and I do a lot of thinking, like, oh, what am I going to do next, you know? And historically, I had tried to make all of my projects as different as possible. That's why I'd never done another horror thing. But I was like, you know what, the Walking Dead fan base, you know, some of them, you know, they're not into superheroes. They're not into, you know, I was doing a kids comic called Super Dinosaur at the time. not a lot of people that love Walking Dead necessarily going to like a story about an 11-year-old boy who's got a Tyrannosaurus Rex that's his best friend, and they go out on missions and kill things with rockets. Although they're not killing things because it's a kid thing, so they're killing them. It's just off panel. But anyway, so I was like, I should do like a horror thing, you know? Like that'd be fun. Like something that, you know, people that like Walking Dead could actually kind of enjoy. And I was thinking about the genesis of The Walking Dead, which was, you know, the thing you guys have heard so many times. I love all the Romero movies. I love zombie movies in general, but I hate the way they end. And I thought, wow, it'd be really cool if there was a, you know, me as a fan, you know, if you're sitting in the theater watching Day of the Dead and the credits roll and they go, just kidding, there's like 100 more hours. And then you're like trapped in that theater watching those people forever and then you die of starvation. Like that's like the ultimate fan's dream to me. And so I was like, let's do that without the trapped in the theater and the death. And so, you know, zombie movie that never ends. So when it comes to exorcism stories, I thought there was a similar opportunity there in that most exorcism stories kind of tell the exact same story over and over again. It's, you know, some person is afflicted with the phenomenon of demonic possession. People slowly find out about this affliction. They freak out. They, at some point, find some pathway to some expert of some form. They come in, they do a little dance and shake a couple of things and say some things and woo, and then the demon leaves, and then they go, all right, gonna ride off into the sunset here, job well done. No demon in that person. We'll go to McDonald's, get some burgers, go home, read some books, maybe watch Day of the Dead. And that's the end of the movie, and you're like, well, what the hell? Like, there was a demon inside that person. How did the demon get into that person? What if it comes back? What if it goes into someone else? Like, don't stop and wait for the next person to call you. Like, why don't you actually, like, actively try to put a little bit of effort into figuring out how the hell that happened in the first place and if there's any way to stop it and, you know, if it means something, if it's like a larger threat that's organizing against us and, you know, and I started thinking about all these different, you know, possibilities, and that became Outcast. So it's, you know, a bunch of people, in a sense, treating demonic possession as a solvable problem, and you know, they're going to actually try to fix it. So that was, to me, a different kind of take on the exorcism genre. Also had a really horrifying religious upbringing that I pull a lot of influence from, but I don't like to talk about it. All right.
Hi, I'm Calvin from Shoreline, and my question I've kind of...
Oh, Shoreline.
Yeah, Shoreline.
I've heard of that.
Totally, yeah. Well, I kind of have a half question. I kind of thought it through in my head a little bit here, but so Walking Dead has kind of grown exponentially throughout the years, like maybe like in 2009 or something. It would have just been like this small thing. Like if you came to this convention, you'd have just been like the artist alley with like a couple people walking by your booth, maybe, I don't know.
Oh, I've had many days like that, yes.
Yeah, just like...
What's wrong with me? Why are they at that booth and not mine? Should I have brushed my hair today?
Yeah,
Should I not be doing a book called Battle Pope?
But yeah, like I think it's
You
amazing
don't
that,
remember it. Go ahead.
that The Walking Dead has like grown so much, like from what it used to be, and now it's like this huge like pop culture phenomenon. And I was wondering like how that's affected you, like the growth of The Walking Dead into this like big thing, and like how it affects you creating other works, and maybe just how it affects you like yourself.
Well, I didn't buy these pants at Walmart. So it's affected me in that respect. I bought them at Target. So it hasn't changed me all that much. But no, it is interesting. I sometimes think about, I mean, a lot. I mean, when you do a project that's so long-term, I was 23 when I started writing The Walking Dead, and I'm 30, you know, death now. And so, you know, I'm almost a completely different person at this point. I mean, if I think about, like, you know, who I was and what I was doing, I mean, I lived in the red light district of Lexington, Kentucky in a shanty house, you know, dodging bullets on the mean streets of Kentucky. They were fired by horses. That's how bad Kentucky is. But yeah, and I had no kids, and my wife and I were, you know, newlyweds. Now we hate each other. That's a joke. That's a joke. She watches this stuff sometimes, and she's like, "You make me seem like I'm mean," and I'm like, "I'll do anything for a laugh, honey." then stop hitting me. But anyway, and so, I mean, there's interesting things just about my life changing where, like, when I first started writing the book, I would write the Carl and Rick dynamic using my experiences with my father, where, you know, I'm writing from the son's perspective, or I'm imagining how Rick would feel based on, you know, how my father, I would assume, felt about me as a child. And then as the series progresses, you know, I have my son, I have my daughter, and then I start to write from the perspective of, you know, oh my God, I have children, and I know what it's like to have children. I know what it's like to worry about them. And I feel like that enriches the story to a certain extent. So that's happening, and that's cool. And then you get to a point now where my son's 10 and I hate him because he's just a jerk. And then you can just, yeah, take that guy's eye out. I don't care. Just kick him over here. Let's just do the whatever. And if my son's watching this, I do apologize. I don't really, I think the world of you. You know, every now and then your sister is cooler, but every now and then you step up and I'm like, no, they're equal. But anyway, is this live streaming? My kids aren't watching this. You're both great. Anyway, so losing my train of thought. So yeah, but the fame of it all and the success of it all is something that I worried when it started would be really, really extremely distracting, to the point that, you know, I thought, you know, this started out as like me writing scripts in, you know, this little room in my house and sending them off to Charlie Adlard, and we'd make this great comic, and, you know, and that's what the focus was. And the next thing you know, I'm in the writer's room, and I'm trying to write scripts at the same time, and, you know, every now and then I'd be in the writer's room, they'd be talking about a plot, and I'd be like, typing responses to a letters column, or, you know, plotting the next issue, and they'd be like, wait, put that away, what are you doing? I'd be like, nah, I'm not, you know, and I got away with it sometimes, but other people would get mad. But anyway, it was really important to me to keep that purity, because I felt like everything that I had done at the beginning when I was like a nobody, the book was successful before the show happened, but whatever, you know, like that's what made the book cool, and if I couldn't maintain that, I'd be losing the thing that propelled it into becoming all this other stuff. So I tried to make sure that I ignore it as much as possible. And, you know, I feel like I'm fairly grounded. I still shop at Target. And, you know, my wife, you know, is not impressed by anything at all. So, you know, I can come to Comic-Con and talk to, I don't know, I'm just going to say it's like 1 billion people out here. And then I go home and she's like, yeah, we saved the trash for you. Go take that out. And so that's good. But one thing that did happen was, if you notice, the things that are being adapted into the show now are things that happened after. I feel like you guys are all bored. I apologize. This is a real long answer. But a lot of the things that are adapted into the show now are things that happened in the comic after the existence of the show. And I can't help but notice that there is some kind of difference, because now you got Ezekiel walking around acting like a lunatic, and Negan's walking around, and in the comic he's dropping the F word like every 2 seconds, and that's something you can't do in the show, and we got a friggin' tiger that's in the show now. And that was clearly me going, they're never gonna get to this stuff, and if they get to this stuff, they're never gonna be able to adapt it. So I'm just going hog wild, because I had to prove to myself internally that I was not changing what I was planning to do with a mind toward how we were going to adapt it when we got to it in the show. And so I went so overboard that I think I think it did change the comic in some way, but I feel like it made it more awesome. So I'm just gonna say that. And then issue, what are we at now? I don't remember. Issue 200, we're bringing dragons into the comic.
Hello, my name is Landon, and what is your inspiration to creating The Walking Dead? Because you actually were the one who inspired me to write my own story called The Running Dead.
Oh, great.
So
hey,
what was your inspiration?
More power to you. I mean, look, George Romero. I think I get a lot of flack sometimes because people are like, you know, you just like taking George Romero stuff and trying to make it popular and whatever. And yeah, I would say, hey, you know, like Bram Stoker did Dracula, and then a bunch of people did some vampire stuff. Like now it's zombies' turn. Like zombies are cool too. The other thing I like to say is Stephanie Meyer is to Bram Stoker as Robert Kirkman is to George Romero. because all I'm really doing is taking this like really gritty, really awesome genre and like adding romance and like schlocky soap opera-ness to it. But people like that stuff, and yeah. So yeah, I mean, you know, it's the zombie movie that never ends. And who did the best zombie movies? George Romero. So yeah, definitely took most of my inspiration from that guy. Adam Eve, what is up?
Yes, woo. Hi, I'm Amber. I am not looking forward to the ending of Invincible, and I wanted to know what went into that decision, and if you plan on doing any spin-offs with any of the characters.
So Invincible is a series that, remind me about the spin-off question, because I know I'm going to forget it. So Invincible is a series that is everything I've ever loved about superhero comics put into one series. And so it's a shared universe, there's all these different characters, and it's a huge tapestry of a bunch of intertangled plot lines that kind of, I hope, reads like if there was like one book called The Marvel Universe and everything that you got in all the Marvel comics was, you know, kind of crammed haphazardly into one book. And over the years, I try to take the things that I love about the comic industry that we all experience that we can kind of poke fun at. And so, you know, there's just little plot lines here and there. You know, like I'll do like a big massive event where, you know, a bunch of guys have to get together and fight the villain, but I'll do it in one issue instead of like a year-long like story arc, you know, just as like a gag. Like, yeah, look at that, we did it in one issue. Weird, right? You know, I'll you know, have like a legacy character come in, but we'll do it in a different way. And I'll market the fact that the character is going to die, but then the character won't die, you know, because I thought that was funny. Like, you get all these like big, the death of Wolverine is coming. Oh my God, they're going to kill Wolverine. And you know they're going to bring him back in some form anyway, so who cares? But they always kill him. And I was like, wouldn't it be great if you like spent a lot of time marketing like, oh my God, Wolverine's going to die. And then the last issue they were like, nah, he didn't die. So I do things like that. And my original intent for Invincible, my goal of goals, if you will, was I wanted to be like 65 years old, reading Invincible, like 530, a book I hadn't written for like 40 years that had gone from creative team to creative team. That was a book I didn't recognize. That just recycled the same stuff over and over again, and I'd sit on my couch as an old man and go, I don't know what the hell this crap is. They've ruined this book. You know? Because that would mean that, you know, it had a legacy that spoke to a generation that I didn't understand, you know? Because we're all going to get there eventually. We're all going to be sitting on a couch watching TV going, it's just a guy in his living room playing a video game. Why are people watching this? I don't understand. I don't understand. This person makes funny noises, and I don't get it. I don't understand YouTube sometimes is what I'm saying. But anyway, you know, we'll all get there, you know, and I was like, you know, if Invincible, if, you know, Corey Walker and Ryan Ottley and I have managed to build something that can stand the test of time the way that, you know, Spider-Man or Batman or whatever can, like, that would be an amazing accomplishment that, you know, as frustrated as I would be at that age, would be pretty cool. And then I was like, or I could end it. Because I really love Invincible. And the idea of those initial years where somebody takes over, where I'm like, oh, you should have done this. And I also don't want to drive some poor guy crazy by getting somebody to take over the writing. Then I'm constantly like coming in and going, hey, no, it's got to be like this. And he's like, what are you doing? You stopped writing this. Like, what's going on? Like, that is no fun whatsoever. And I thought, well, what if Spider-Man, you know, was Stan Lee and, you know, Steve Ditko and, you know, John Romita and Stan, like, had kind of a plan for, like, the whole thing, and, you know, it led to a natural conclusion, and it ended, and when it ended, you could sit back and go, oh my God, it's like a 25-volume series that has, like, a beginning, middle, and end, and, you know, the end means something, and when it ends, you can see, like, all the way back to the first issue, like, Mark felt a certain way, but you got to watch him change over those years, and now he's this kind of person, dead person, and, you know, like, that's like a cool thing, you know? Like superhero books don't do that. And I started thinking about how the whole legacy of the book has been, you know, take superhero stories and do the unexpected thing with them, like change them up, you know, try to put a fresh coat of paint on it, so to speak. And I was like, oh, that'd be cool. Like, the end of Invincible is like doing that. Like, people just don't end superhero series. And so we did that. So it's coming out now. going to be a lot of crazy issues. There might be some deaths along the way. I can't say for sure. There is. So yeah, it should be fun. And then when it all is said and done, hopefully the last issue is, you know, a somewhat poignant, you know, farewell to a character that we all know and love, and all the other characters that are involved. And, you know, in like 5 years, I'll ruin it all by bringing it back. Thank you. Oh yeah, the spinoff. Yeah, see, I told you. I was right. Yeah, I don't know, maybe, probably not. There are a lot of fun characters, so I don't know. But definitely not Adam Eve. Like, she's too important to the core narrative.
Tara's pretty badass.
Oh, yeah. Hey, Tara is kind of my favorite right now. She's awesome. And says things that my daughter says sometimes. So when you look and you're like, why would a kid say that? My daughter probably said that. Which that's writing. You just sit in your house and go, wow, that was funny. No royalties for you, daughter.
Hi, my name is William. I'm from Yakima, Washington.
All right. Yakima.
My question is, how do you deal with having to tone down the violence from the books to the show, and how often are you pushing them to push the envelope?
Well, I'll say this. I'm in the writer's room somewhat less often these days. Got a lot going on. And it's something that we're all... Here's what I'm going to say. There's no conscious effort to tone down the violence. I don't know if you've ever watched the show, but I am constantly like watching cuts going, that's not going to make it into the final one. And on set, Greg Nicotero and the team and the directors and all the special effects people, we just go for it. Because if you got to cut 3 seconds here and you got to cut 4 seconds there, like, that's just how you fix it. And every now and then there's like a, you know, jaw that gets stabbed into somebody's eye socket, and they're like, well, I don't know, maybe not that. And then we just show a couple seconds of it, and it's fine. And then people freeze frame those couple seconds. Go, this is the most horrifying thing I've ever seen. And we're like, sweet. But for the most part, like, there is no discussion really of like, well, we can't really go to this. I mean, my God, the premiere of season 7, like, I didn't know. That made me uncomfortable. And it made me cry. But anyway, I'll tell an anecdote about that. We're at the not Madison Square Garden, that was another thing. We're at the Hollywood Forever Cemetery for the premiere of season 7. And all the actors show up, you know, and I gotta go over there and get my picture with them because I wanna seem important. And so we're chatting, hanging out, and Jeffrey Dean Morgan is nervous. Because he's like, yeah, I don't know, I mean, there's so many people here. Here, I'll do a Jeffrey Dean Morgan voice. Yeah, I don't know, I'm so nervous. That's not what he said. He's way cooler than that. But he's like, oh, there's so many people here, and man, I don't know, like, it's pretty brutal. People love these characters. I think these people are really gonna hate me. I mean, what do we do if they know we're here? Like, what if they revolt? What if they come after me? And you know, a lot of times I got the comic and the show bouncing around in my head. And so I'm like, Negan is like one of the most popular characters ever in the comic. Like, you're gonna be fine. People are gonna love you. Like, what are you talking about? This is crazy. So I'm reassuring him, and he's like, oh, thanks, man, I appreciate that. And then he went off to talk to more important people. And so when the show airs, or when it played, a lot of times we've seen the episode like 1 billion times, and so we just like sit in the back and chat. But we went around to see the opening, like, 20 minutes or so, because we wanted to see what the audience reaction would be, which was a lot of fun. And so we're kind of standing over behind some speakers, looking at an odd angle, like behind the audience, and like Norman's here, and Jeffrey Dean Morgan is there, and they're smoking, so I'm like, but anyway, I keep trying to get them to quit. They don't listen to me. But it starts happening, and I'm like, and you can see the audience going, oh, and I'm like, oh, this is not good. This is not good. Oh, I think Jeffrey Dean Morgan, I think he was right. Oh man. Because like you can see people going, oh, and then when it breaks for one of the commercial breaks, there's like a pause, and then it'll come back on, because we're not like watching it live or anything, but there's always like a pause there. I don't know if you guys watch the Blu-rays. You guys know what I'm talking about. I'm gonna talk about this pause for like 2 or 3 more minutes, make sure you guys understand. But as soon as it breaks for that split second, this guy in the audience goes, "No!" And I thought the revolt was starting. I was like, let's just get out of here, let's go! Let's get into a car, let's get out! They'll never find us. But then it didn't happen. So, I don't know what your question was. All right, go ahead. We do not tone down the violence.
Hi, I'm Lauren. I'm from Salt Lake City, Utah.
Hello.
Yeah, I know, right? My question is, in reading the comics and watching the show, initially they seemed further spread apart. The characters kind of exchange places. The characters are obviously much different than they were in the comic, now in the show. But it seems like lately you've been kind of merging them back together again and following the story a little bit more closely. Do you plan on continuing that, or are you gonna keep just messing around with things and, I don't know?
There's an ebb and a flow to it, I think. I think sometimes we get a little closer to the track that the comic laid down, and sometimes we get further from it. I think the, what do we call them, the scavengers, the trash people, those people are not in the comics. And those people are going to be an active part of the storyline moving forward, and so you'll see how they change the story in some interesting and cool ways with trash. And so there will always be deviations like that. I don't know. I mean, I don't know if it's because the story got more complicated and it got bigger. And I think it might be that, I mean, one thing I will say, and I don't know, this is probably going to make headlines because sometimes I say things and then people turn them into clickbait articles on the damn internet. And I'm like, wow, we're so popular. This is awesome. But it still makes me mad because sometimes taken out of context, people say things, it's the whole thing. But Frank Darabont, the first showrunner, and Glenn Mazzara, the second showrunner, delightful people, did not follow the comic book as closely as Scott Gimple follows the comic book because they were not avid comic book fans and readers the way that Scott Gimple is. Scott Gimple started reading the comic book before the show ever existed, so when he came on to season 2 as a writer, he and I were best friends. And oftentimes in the room for season 2, they would say, well, you know, we're going to do this with so-and-so, and I would go, well, actually, in the comic book, we did this. And Scott Gimple would go, well, actually, in the comic book, you did this. And I would go, oh, yeah, you're right. I apologize. And so when he became showrunner, not only was he more familiar with the comic books, but he was also intimately familiar with where the comic books were going. And so whereas Frank and Glenn would be like, let's do this awesome thing. And I'd be like, yeah, I don't care, this is awesome. And then we'd do it. You know, Scott's like, well, if we do this, we're not going to be able to do this in season 6, and we're not going to be able to do this in season 7, and it's definitely going to have to be like this in season 8, and then that's going to lead us here in season 9, and then if we make it to season 10, it's going to be like this, and then if we go to season 11, it's going to be like this, and then if we go to season 12, it's going to happen right here, and then season 13 is really going to have to be like this, and then I'm going to go to the bathroom, guys, thank you! So anyway, he's building the stuff, and he likes the stuff in the comics, and so I think that's probably why we're a little bit more closer from time to time, but we do still deviate. All right. You look like you're unhappy with that answer. I apologize. I'm sorry. I tried as best I could. I did that bit where I acted like I was leaving. But... All right. I'm going to try and make you happier. Let's do this.
Hi, I'm Noah from Olympia. So in The Walking Dead, your main characters have acquired disabilities along the way, but they've stayed like badasses and like kept up being like the main people in the group, but we haven't seen that in the show. We've only seen the bad characters get disabilities. So in the comics, how did you decide to give them disabilities but keep them strong? And then will we ever see that in the show?
Yeah, I mean, I think that we'll see that in the show. I mean, you know, Carl did lost his eye. Yeah, and I think that somewhat counts, but there are logistical concerns just with you know, losing limbs and things like that. I know that Herschel, you know, lost his limb, and that was a giant pain in the ass. I mean, I got to watch the dailies where, like, he'd be on the crutch, and he'd have, like, his little dangly fake pants, and then he'd have his green leg, and then my favorite part is he was always wearing a bright green Croc. Because I guess they make those in, like, green screen color or something. And it'd be like a group scene, and we were trying to film it in a way that we wouldn't have to do visual effects on that scene, and then you'd see Herschel. You see Herschel. I'm forgetting that actor's name right now. It's been like many seasons. Whatever, screw him. Anyway, he'd move, and you'd be like, your foot, no, that's like $50,000, damn it. So that's, it's a logistical concern, and I think that's really the only thing holding us back. But it is something that is important to us, and it's a big part of the comic, and eventually we will find a way to be a little bit more representative of that stuff. I don't want to spoil anything, but yeah, there might be some stuff coming up. All right.
Hello, I'm Chase from Marysville, Washington, and my question for you is, what would you say is your...
Scott Wilson.
What would you say is your favorite adaptation from the comic book into the TV show?
Like my favorite story individually, or
story,
or series, or what?
I guess, yeah, story. I'll say story.
I mean, I think the Outcast pilot is like a really cool. I don't know. The Outcast pilot specifically, I did that concurrently with writing the comic book series. So that one to me is fun because I became uniquely present, like aware of all of the different limitations of both mediums. And so as I was crafting the overall story, I would be like, well, I really like this scene of him like smashing his head against the wall to kill this cockroach and then eat it. But if I were to do it justice in the comic book, that would be 4 pages. And I can't devote 4 pages to that because, you want to get the sense of him staring at it, and you want to get the sense of him being weird before he actually smashes it. So that's going to be the page 2 page turn, and then you got, and you got to like, figure out all that stuff, and it ends up being like a 90-page issue. And so I was able to just pull that stuff from the comic and put it in the show in real time because, I knew that with motion and sound, you can get a lot going in a few seconds that you can't accomplish in a comic book page. And so for that reason, I can look at them both as an overall piece and go like, oh, this is cool. This thing worked better in the comic, so I focused on it more here. This thing worked better in the show, so I focused on it here. There's scenes in the show that aren't in the comic. There's scenes in the comic that aren't in the show. And to me, that's like, that's like the best form of adaptation because, you're not losing anything from medium to medium. You're gaining things from medium to medium. But I mean, Walking Dead's the most popular, so it's the best adaptation, right?
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
How's it going? I'm George.
Superman.
From, I try.
Them muscles look real.
Sure they do. George from Tacoma. My question for you about Invincible. When you started that, what made you do the plot twist as the dad being the most powerful hero, literally coming here to enslave the human race?
Well, I'm a pessimist and I'm somewhat negative in life, and so the idea of a superpowered being coming to this planet and going, hey, this truth, justice, and the American way shit you guys have, I'm into that. Let's do more of that. They'd more look down on us for our weakness and envy our resources, and they'd be so vastly superior to us in so many different ways. And one of the things we explore with the Viltrumites, especially in recent series, is just this completely alien mindset that comes from growing up in an alien society. There are certain things that are acceptable to them that are not acceptable to human beings, and certain things that are normal to them that are not normal to human beings, and vice versa. And those, conflicts can lead to a distance between, two people from different places. I mean, it's something that we experience, all day, every day in everyday life, because we just don't get along. We just don't, And so, I thought that it was just the more realistic thing. And now, the beauty of planet Earth and the way that human society works has now inspired, Invincible's father to be a better person. And that's something that I think is very important to convey, because I do think that deep down we are great. I just thought that was a more realistic thing because I think Superman is stupid. All right. Go ahead. I'm just kidding. I love Superman. Oh, you coming at me, bro? I want to see you get up on this stage, and I'm going to be close so I can push you back. Because I'm not going to fight that. I don't know how much of those muscles are foam. All right, go.
Hi, Robert. My name's Alyssa. I'm from Lakewood, and I was wondering, sorry, my brain. When you first had the idea to create these comic books, how did you put it into play, and what was the initial reaction of everyone around you when you were like, hey, I want to make a zombie comic? What made you want to do that?
Well, starting out on Battle Pope and everything, I think that one of the things that led to my success is a very unique form of laziness and a bullheadedness that borders on stupidity. And so I'm stupid and lazy, and I think that's allowed me to succeed. And what I mean by that is that I would tell people, yeah, I'm doing comics, and they'd be like, yeah, okay. Because it's stupid. Like, nobody in their right mind would do that. Like, it's super difficult to get into any entertainment industry whatsoever, and comics are, it's a closed-door system, and it's really hard to read scripts, and nobody wants to help you get ahead, and you kind of have to make your way, and it's nuts. Like, anybody trying to break into comics knows what I'm talking about. It's absolutely insane. And you come to panels, and you're like, well, how'd you break into comics? And they're like, well, I don't know. I went to Walmart, and I fell in a puddle, and this person said, hey, let's go do this, and I went over and did this, and then this person found my book, and then, like, every story is different. None of them make any sense. There's nothing you can glean from anyone's breaking into comic story. And so it's absolute lunacy. And then my laziness is that, like, I get to, I go to work, and I sit down in a chair, and I'm like, well, I guess I'm in this chair now. And I don't have the energy or the wherewithal to be like, video games are more fun. I think I should go play video games. I'm just like, I'm in front of this keyboard. I might as well just keep doing this. And I have to, like, set alarms to, go to this meeting now. Oh, God, I can't. I got to go to the meeting now. Like, I don't pay attention to stuff. I'm able to focus fairly well, I guess. And so I think that really helped me because, I get a lot of work done, and I really care about comics, and I care about what I'm doing, and it excites me to see the books when they come in. Like, it's like the best thing in the world when the mail comes and the, guy's like, hey, good morning, Mr. Kirkman, here's your mail. I'm like, I don't have a mailman. I don't know what they look like. Anyway, and good old Sam with the parcels. I take them out and I shake them. I'm like, listen to that comic. Made a comic. And that drives me in, so I end up doing more stuff. But yeah, I don't know. It's tough. And one of the things I did, that's always a fun story to tell, so just leave if you've heard it. But my dad was a small business owner, and he ran a sheet metal fabrication company. I used to drive by factories, and he'd point to ductwork, like the air conditioning vents and stuff on the roofs, and he'd go, I made that. And I'd go, that is fucking awesome. And so he was fairly accomplished, had a lot of employees, sold his business when I was graduating high school and moved down to Florida, and so and took my whole family. And so I was like 19, and my parents came to me and they were like, we sold the business and we are moving to Florida. I hadn't moved out yet, and they were like, we're gonna be leaving in about 8 months, and you can come with us, or you can get the fuck out. And so I was like, well, I'm getting out. I apologize for the profanity. I feel like it started, and now it's just going to keep going. But anyway, so I had to get a job and, like, figure out what I was doing and figure out where I was living and all this stuff. And so I was kind of on my own at, like, 20, living in Kentucky, like, asking friends, like, what's a plumber? How do I, like, this thing's not working. I don't know who to call. Like, what do you do? Anyway, and I just kind of figured it out on my own. But my parents worried about me. And so they would ask, like, what are you doing? And I would say, I'm working. And I eventually, after like 2 years of doing comics, I just quit my job, which was the stupidest thing I could have ever done. I got I had bought a small house because I worked for a while and saved like I had a down payment of like $2,000 on like a $50,000 house. If you've ever bought a house, a $50,000 house is like a garage. It's like the smallest thing you could ever get. But I was a homeowner at like 20, and so I was able to like borrow against that. And so I got like a couple $1,000 loan against my house, which meant that if I didn't pay it back, I would lose said house. And then I quit my job, with that couple $1,000 because I was like, I'm doing comics now. This is what's happening. And then I was massively in debt for a good long time. And I used to do this thing where I got a bunch of credit cards, and I'm just gonna tell this story now, guys, because it's a lot of fun. And I got a bunch of credit cards because I was like, this company is gonna give me a piece of plastic that is essentially $800, and if I spend that $800, I only have to pay them like $3 or like $8 a month. That's a good deal. And so I had like 30 credit cards, and they were all maxed out in like a year. And so then I would sit down with all the bills, and I'd go, $15, $18, $35, $90, $110. Jesus, why'd they give me that credit limit? And I'd go, okay, sweet. My total bill for all my credit cards is $700. Okay, and then I'd be like, wait a minute, I know how this works. I have to pay $700 a month, every month, for the rest of my life. And I'm making like $1,000 a year at this point. I have to pay $700 a month every month for the rest of my life to carry this balance. Like, you're not paying down those credit card balances. So I had $35,000, almost $40,000 of debt at the time, and I could not afford to pay the minimum payments to keep the thing going. And I would just lay on the floor and shake. Like, I would just lay face down on my carpet, and I'd just be like, I'm gonna die. I don't even know what I'm gonna do. Oh my God. And my wife at the time was working at a coffee shop, and she'd come home and see me on the floor and be like, this again, Jesus Christ. She's real nice. Sometimes she'd lay with me and shake as well because she was scared. So basically I quit my job, but I didn't want to tell my parents, hey, I quit my job, because that's not going to go over well. And so I lied to them, and I was like, oh no, I work at Amazon now. And my mom called, and she was like, I called I worked at a place called Kentucky Lighting and Supply until I quit. She's like, I called Kentucky Lighting to talk to you, and they said that you don't work there anymore. You hadn't worked there in a year. How's that about? And I go, I work at UPS now. Amazon. I work at Amazon now because there was an Amazon place in Lexington, Kentucky, and I actually went there one time to put in an application because I was real worried. And you guys are like, I'm done with this story. But anyway, I put in an application there, and I went to fill out an application, never did. And I was like, this place looks scary. I don't want to come here every day. I'm just going to try another month of comics. But that was in my head, and so I was like, I work at Amazon. And then like later on, I changed it to UPS because I had a buddy that worked at UPS. And then my parents had gotten divorced. It's a sad story. And my dad had this new wife who used to work at UPS, and I didn't know that. And so I'm sitting at dinner one time in Florida, and they think I'm working at UPS because I didn't want them to worry. And my stepmother goes, what do you do there? And I go, administrative stuff. It's no big deal. Don't worry about it. It's not a big thing. Moving on. And so I waited until I was actually making money in comics to tell them that I was working in comics. And so I basically got a long box of a bunch of Battle Pope and some Tech Jacket. And I don't think I'd started working at Marvel yet. And I brought a long box of comics. And I was like, I work in comics. I've been doing this for a few years. I'm sorry. I didn't want you to worry. And they were like, you're an insane person. So that's how that happened. I apologize. That was too long. Bad story. Go ahead.
Hi, I'm Don. I live here in Seattle. So I'm a longtime fan of The Walking Dead. And it seems like in the last few seasons of the show...
Longtime fan of growing hair, too, right?
Yes.
Yeah. All right, sorry.
In the last few seasons of the show...
Just trying to liven it up after that depressing story I just told.
It seems like the season premiere and the season finale follow the comic books, and they're excellent. But the episodes in between feel a lot like filler. And it's very stretched out.
Yeah.
How do you feel as a creator seeing your wonderful creation kind of stretched out and watered down, if you will?
Well, I don't share your opinion, for one. Watered down is a strong word. But yeah, I know exactly what you're talking about. I'm not going to pretend that there isn't a difference between our filler episodes and our finales and premieres. I get no laughs for calling it a filler episode. I was just kidding. So anyway, I think that the important thing to note is that if we didn't take the time to, spend a large portion of an episode building up Eugene in a way that does seem somewhat dull at times, but is infinitely important to the overall narrative structure, you wouldn't be upset when we kill Eugene later this season. And so, it means he's not gonna die for sure. Be happy. I'd never say that if he was really gonna die. Anyway, you have to do that. You have to slow things down. You have to get people intimately involved in these characters. You have to get them to know where their, thoughts and fears are, and you got to put the pieces in place so that when you do blow things up and when you do, make that happen. I think, week to week you get really engaged, and I hear from people that watch week to week, and they're like, sometimes up, sometimes down. You're a little bit more aware of that scale. But if you actually just wait and binge watch, so please stop tuning in day and date. AMC has a sniper on me right now, and I'm going down. But no, like people that binge watch don't really notice that. Like they see the engagement and they have a little bit of a different experience. But you got to get that weekly dose. You got to know what's going on. So that's my answer. But look, man, if you don't like it, don't watch it.
Thanks.
But.
Hi, my name is Talia. I'm from Vancouver, Canada. I was just
Canada, next. I'm kidding. I like that joke because everyone from Canada is so nice. So it's funny to be mean to them for no reason whatsoever. Right? Is that just me? Sorry.
Yes. I was just wondering how you've stayed so creatively close with the same artists on both your extremely long-running series.
Geographical distance.
Oh, okay, perfect.
You guys have been here now for 53 minutes. Aren't you ready to leave?
No. But you've been working with Ryan Otley and Charlie Adlard for 12, 13, 14 years.
Uh-huh.
And how can you still how can you guys still stay so close and work together so creatively at the same time?
I think that there's a level of comfort and respect that comes from knowing people as intimately as we know each other. We sleep together often. It's not in a sexual way, you people. We're all married to each other. But so there's a trust that comes from being able to know I don't have to write 9 sentences when 2 will get the thing across, and I think that makes it easier for me to tell the stories, and it also makes it easier for them to feel emboldened to draw what we put together because they're like, oh, this guy trusts me to do my thing, and so there's a friendship and a respect that comes from that, and we all respect each other's craft and things like that, and also Charlie said this before he's really excited about what's happening, and he loves the characters and he loves the story, and it's really true of everyone involved. But I'm enjoying these stories as I craft them, and I love these characters, and it upsets me when they die the same way it upsets you guys when they die, even though I'm the one that's killing them, so it's really conflicting. And Charlie's the same way. After a while, he told me to stop telling him what was coming because oftentimes I would say, yeah, this is going to happen, but it would be 40 issues away. And so he'd be like, why did you tell me that? Now I'm waiting for that to happen and you changed your mind. I'm like, I didn't change my mind. It's back here. And he's like, oh, Jesus, why would you tell me that? And so he just said, let me experience the scripts like a fan experiences the comic. And so now he just gets scripts and is like, yeah, oh, this is cool. And it's fun too because I get to play with him in the script a little bit because I know he doesn't know what's coming, and so I'll write things in the script that seem like this is what's happening on the next page, and then it doesn't, and so that's kind of fun. But yeah, I don't know. We really enjoy the work that we're doing, and we enjoy each other, and we treat each other with respect, and we make a lot of money together.
We have
Lady
time
Negan.
for 2 more questions.
I'll tell you how many questions we can do. You're not the boss of me. Go.
Hi, so I'm Anna from Seattle, and I was wondering, now that the clock is ticking, if Andrea is ever going to find out that Carl killed Ben.
We'll see.
Roger from Mount Lake Terrace.
No comment. Sorry. You're not happy with that? Yeah, I can't spoil things for you. Just, yeah, you'll be all right. You'll be okay. I love that costume. That's good. All right, we got 4 minutes. Let's try and get through a few. Sit down, Lady Negan.
All right.
What's up?
Roger from Mount Lake Terrace. My question is, has the discussion ever come up, or would it even be a possibility to maybe bring in some of the characters from like the Telltale Walking Dead games into the TV series?
I mean, you know, it's possible. Were we to ever do something like that, it would be a complete surprise. So I would never say anything, indicating that that's something that we were going to do. That said, there is absolutely zero plans to do that anytime in the future. So all y'all bloggers better back off. But yeah, I mean, it's something that we have discussed that we think would be kind of cool. But it's something we got to make it work and everything. But yeah, no plans as of yet. Go.
Hi, I'm Grant. I'm from Redmond. So obviously making a TV show out of The Walking Dead has hugely bolstered the popularity of both the comic and obviously the TV show, and it's huge now. So I'm wondering if you've ever thought about doing something similar with Invincible, and if you did, what would you maybe do differently than you did in the comics, and who would you want to cast?
I can't comment on casting because sadly, were it to actually happen and we don't get that person, then, because casting, it's always about availability. Like I could say I want Mark Wahlberg, but, Mark Wahlberg's doing, whatever Mark Wahlberg's doing and he's not available. And then the fans are like, you said Mark Wahlberg, how dare you?
I really
so Mark
want Clancy
Wahlberg,
Brown as Cecil.
For Mark, wait, what was that?
I really want Clancy Brown as Cecil.
Clancy Brown would be fantastic. He's absolutely awesome. But my go-to is Ed O'Neill. I think that Ed O'Neill should play all roles in everything because he is fantastic. And I have to say, I have been saying Ed O'Neill as a casting option for almost every person who's ever asked that question about every character for the last friggin' decade, in the hopes that at some point Ed O'Neill would be like, oh, I hear you mention me a lot. You're pretty cool. Let's hang out. And he never does. It's not happening. It's really upsetting. But I just love that guy. I watch Dutch like every week. It's a lot of fun. But yeah, as far as the adaptation of Invincible, I don't know. Maybe it's gonna be maybe we're close. Maybe we're close. All right, go ahead.
I'm Frank from Mount Lake Terrace, and I also have a question about the Telltale game.
What was it?
I also have a question about the Telltale game.
Okay.
I was wondering if you say that the comic and the show are two completely different universes. Which universe do you consider the game canon to, and which universe do you consider Fear of the Walking Dead canon to?
Fear the Walking Dead is canon to the AMC Walking Dead show. The Telltale video game series is canon to the comic book series. So the Glenn that shows up in the first season is the Glenn from the comics, and the Jesus that is currently appearing in the series is the Jesus from the comics. But, you can imagine it's whichever way, who knows. Anyway, go ahead. But that is the official answer. 1 minute, let's go!
I'm Abby from here. First, the season 7 premiere was the first time I've ever cried at a TV show, book, or movie, so congratulations.
Yeah!
And I was wondering, I know I can't ask for an autograph here, but I have this awesome first book of The Walking Dead signed
Shit
by...
out of luck. Next question. We gotta go. No, I'm kidding. Bring it up here.
Is there a place where I can find you after for you to sign?
Bring it up here. You have a Sharpie on? You don't have a Sharpie?
No, I don't.
All right, somebody give her a Sharpie, and then you come right here, but no one else come right here, because they're going to kick us out of here. But just you. Grab a Sharpie right there. I'll be right back. Go.
Hi, my name is Griffin from Auburn, Washington, and my question was...
Auburn! What? Okay.
Maybe I'm Carl from Atlanta, Georgia. You don't know. But my question is we all know that Daryl is not in the comics, but have you ever wanted or kind of wished that you had put in a character like him or Daryl in the comics instead of not having him?
Yeah, I mean, he was created for the show, and I don't want to put him in the comics just because I think that, it's cool that there are big differences, and, there's a lot of great stuff that comes from Daryl not being in the comics that excite people and, make changes that are very cool. But I don't know. I mean, I've never been writing the comic and been like, oh man, it'd be really good to have Daryl here. I see them as two different things, just like I'm never writing the comics and I don't go, oh man, I really need Clementine here. He's just not part of the story. And also, I hate Norman Reedus. Where's that book?
We got it backstage.
Take it backstage. Why did they take it backstage? Oh, this bureaucracy of Emerald City Comic Con. After 15 years, they've lost the core of what they started out as. We'll figure this out. This is. Whoosh. All right, go ahead.
Hi, I'm
This might be the last question.
From Walla
Am I counting
Walla.
up already? Oh yeah, last question and I'm out.
Visually in the show, what's been your favorite death scene?
Favorite death scene? You know, Eugene.